Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking Trend 2. I was going to make a comparison video, but for one reason or another it doesn't really compare to any other ball we have out right now aside from maybe the Honey Badger Intensity or Revival. That's even a stretch though. Hey, Bowler's Mart for your bowling needs. Links in the description and the end of the video. Code Rosdahl10 for 10% off of CoolWick. You know I don't BS ya. I order my supplies from Bowler's Mart and wear CoolWick and I'm happy, so give them a shot. So I started trying to make 4 or 5 videos comparing the Trend 2 to different balls, but for one reason or another they were just falling flatter than the Zen Master hits. I know a big part of comparing is contrasting or showing how the balls are different or showing how they would complement other balls, but the biggest thing people want to know is, will this new ball give me overlap with balls I already own? Considering that, I usually try to compare balls that are similar on paper to show if they really are similar, or compare balls that appear to react similarly. If something's obviously different, you can see they're different. You don't need me rambling on about it, and it feels like a view grab or a waste of time. The Trend 2 isn't really like anything else we have, either on paper or on the lane. I mean, everything goes down the lane and hooks, and I can make any ball look like virtually any other ball in a house shot. It's not like you don't see us striking from third arrow with literally every ball we review. However, there are differences, and however small they do matter. We've all had bowling balls that should be great on paper, and most of the time you don't like something or prefer one ball over another, it's usually a really small reason, isn't it? Maybe it hooks a little too much, or not quite enough, or it's a little too sharp, or too smooth, or it's a little too straight down lane, or whatever. This is the reason we all carry 11 or 12 golf clubs to the course, but no one actually needs to play with that many clubs. Realistically, if you had a driver, a 3 hybrid, 5-iron, 7-iron pitching wedge, and a putter, you'd be fine, but for the same reason you stand for 5 minutes and debate hitting an 8-iron or a 9-iron on a shot you're going to shank or blade anyway, you'll also agonize over the next ball you're going to pay $200 for that will still make you drink and kick ball returns. So, process of elimination. Trend 2 has shiny NRG Hybrid on it. We saw NRG Hybrid on the Physics, Supersonic, and most recently the All-Road, in addition to Roto's Microtracks basically being NRG, so we'll throw the RSTX1 in there as well. All those came sanded, a short trip to get to the same surface, but all those are smoother than the T2 anyway. Physics and X1 were ASIM, Supersonic has a much lower RG and a much higher diff, it's a whole lot smoother. All-Road has both a higher RG and diff, and higher enough to make a noticeable difference on the lane. Core, nothing else has a 254 RG and an 041 diff, and both those numbers are squarely medium. High roads are 257 RG, but also an 046 diff, so a few points, but you're not going to throw a high road next to a Trend 2 and get the same look. They're going to be somewhat comparable, but then we go back to the high road having R2S hybrid versus NRG hybrid on the Trend 2, and that's no contest, and we know that just between the high road and the all road. Definitely quite different balls, so you go different cover and core and you get even further away. This is the sharpest NRG ball I've ever thrown. The Physics was quick, and some of the overseas NRG Pearl balls are firm-ish, but the Trend booms. It doesn't jerk, and it's definitely not as sharp as an RSTX2 or a Rubicon UC2, but I would call it angular. We don't see diffs around 040 most of the time because they're kind of in the middle. Usually you're going for one thing or another. If you're going for control, you go lower. You cut down on the flare. Think hustle, IQ Tour, rolly and controllable stuff around 030. If you're going for boom or traction, you go higher up around 050. You want the ball flaring to help create the ball motion you're going after. 040 being in the middle, it's not low and ultra controllable, and it's not high and aggressive either, so at 041, the Trend 2 has medium flare potential. It's got some wheels to work with, but not a turbo or anything. On the RG side, whenever we do see something around 254, it's usually paired with a lower or higher diff. Hustles are 253, but they're an 030 diff. The winners were 254, but 054 diffs. The Ordnance C4 did have an 042 diff, but the RG was 249 like the Daredevil series from a few years ago. Now the MVPs we just had were an exception at 255-040, but the covers were quite a bit weaker. I mentioned that the Trend 2 does kind of read like the MVP from an optics point of view, but with any kind of volume, the Trend 2 still picks up a moves when the MVP is going to start wiggling, so you're not going to replace an MVP with a Trend 2. You're going to do it with one of the new hypes, which even at 252 are still an 036 diff and not very close either. So now that you have no idea what you just watched or heard and have no way to get these 6 or 7 minutes of your life back, or however long it ends up being, I can't ever tell because I always have to edit out 2 or 3 minutes of stuttering and tripping over my words, what does this mean as far as the Trend 2 is concerned? It means it's unique, it means it's different, but of course different or unique just for the sake of being different or unique may mean nothing at all, and it may not be different or unique enough for it to really matter to you. What I can tell you though is that if you're concerned about overlap with your current equipment, the chances of that are very low. Now if you have an Electrify Pearl and are looking at the new Electrify Solid, the new Hustles, the Burners, or even to a lesser degree the new Hypes, there's overlap for days there, and that's not the case with the Trend 2. Is that a good thing though? Just because it's different doesn't mean it's going to be good for you. The Honey Badger Intensity and Honey Badger Revival are the closest things to overlapping the Trend 2, despite having a higher diff and being slightly asymmetric. They also have a weaker cover formula, so those two things either balance or offset each other. More torque out of the core, but less dig out of the covers, so they kind of see the lane similarly and do somewhat similar things, but depending on the oil volume and lane surface friction, they could get some decent separation. Outside of that, it's on the sharp side like a Zen, Axiom Pearl, UFO Alert, Phase 3, or Dark Code, but not nearly as early rolling or revving as any of those. It wants to get down the lane, but is quite a bit stronger and more aggressive overall than something like a High Road Pearl or a High Road. Now, if you like the big wheel and lots of continuation, you're going to get that from the Trend 2. And if you don't want or like it because it's a Belmo ball, that's between you and the patron saint of the two hands. I'm just a completely neutral bowling nerd, overthinking and overanalyzing like I always do. Please just like my video and praise me for it, because apparently the attention helps me get through the day and sleep at night. The Trend 2 releases today, unless the day you're watching this is not in fact today, and either way it's available, so do with that information what you will. Even if you just want to buy one to burn it, dance in the ashes, and curse the two-handers, at least follow the link on the screen and buy it at Bowler's Mart. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.